Hank studied forestry at Warren Wilson College in North Carolina, learning all about trees. He was building trails, controlling invasive species, and harvesting timber and milling them eventually into logs. And so we also learned about lumber in that experience. Then Hank moved to Athens, where he had many friends, and started working for Oneida Woodworks. And then from there on, he taught himself fine carpentry. Lindsay transferred to UGA. Lindsay is our UGA alum, and she transferred from the College of Charleston into the sculpture department. And Lindsay and I actually graduated. I graduated with my MFA, and she graduated with her undergrad in the same year, 2014. And Lindsay had pretty much the coolest senior thesis show where she converted a 40-yard dumpster into an art venue. And from there, like for the whole 2 weeks during the duration of the show, she had different art shows within the dumpster. And then that eventually culminated into Cult Cargo, which was a project that she did with Hank, where they had shows. They would set up these cargo containers at different venues like Slingshot and Elevate Atlanta. And then from there, they've started Heavy Friends Furniture. And you guys can take it away from there.
Hey, everybody.
Hi.
We've got a puppy running around our feet right now. She's getting stuff out of our garbage can.
Show us if you can.
Well,
when she comes back around,
she'll make an appearance. Yeah. Cam Bright.
Lindsay Pennington.
We are the owner operators of Heavy Friends Furniture. We do custom woodworking, anything from small projects like boxes and chest sets all the way up to furniture and whole kitchen renovations. It's just the two of us. Sometimes we'll have a helper, but typically it's just the pair of us.
Yeah, it's been about 5 years of business. So a lot of ups and downs and figuring stuff out.
Heavy Friends is named after a song by my favorite band, Boris. It's a good song. Y'all should all check it out.
You should explain what Boris is.
Boris is a Japanese experimental metal band. Really great stuff.
Yeah, when I was in school at the Dodd, definitely like one big takeaway I took from art school was just how much I enjoyed the tactile experience of making things and building things. And as an undergrad, I didn't know exactly how I'd use that as a way to make money and be in the world. But with my internship at Oneida Woodworks, it kind of exposed me to what like woodworking can be and kind of all the realms that it could take. And yeah, I think just the experience of art school really just set in stone for me that I really enjoyed the experience of making things, kind of whatever it could be.
Yeah, I did not have an art background in college. I studied forestry at Warren Wilson College outside of Asheville, North Carolina. Pretty interesting small school, about 800 students, where everybody lives on campus all 4 years, and everybody works on various crews, and there's a big farm and a garden, but then everybody, the whole cafeteria is student run, the library and plumbing. I mean, it's like a real hippie commune, basically. And I focused on forestry there, like Brittainy was saying, and got a lot of experience just with wood, identifying trees, and we started milling lumber and drying it for other crews to use, and just got into wood that way. There was a lot of people there that even at 18 to 20 years old had a lot of experience building stuff just growing up, and met a lot of very talented people, and basically that experience made me it made me really appreciate working, and it made me really want to get good at something. I moved to Athens in 2009 and just got a job doing kind of regular residential carpentry. And as that business grew and evolved, we started doing more fine work and furniture and had the wood shop. And just kind of having access to the shop was really big. As my interests grew and I could get in there on the weekends and the evenings and use, the business's tools, I kind of started teaching myself just off of books and the internet, kind of hand tool work and design and stuff like that. Yeah, about 5 years ago, we split off from Oneida Woodworks, where we were both working to start Heavy Friends, and I've taken a few greenwood chair classes, and so I've gotten way more into hand tools and traditional joinery like that, and that's where we are now.
Yeah. I feel like those classes like opened us up to understand that like you can kind of trust your own intuition with proportions, and like you don't always have to be so precise with the measuring tape. You can kind of like do a lot of things by eye, which was really freeing to understand.
Yeah, a big turning point for me in my woodworking was building an electric guitar, and it's very there's a lot of templates and you have to build patterns and jigs, and it's very accurate. And that was kind of my approach for a long time, building jigs and just trying to be as accurate as possible. And then the chair classes really have opened me up to, eyeballing something or just freehanding it, which is a little more freeing.
Yeah.
A little more
Trust yourself.
satisfying. Yeah. Early on, I mean, we're a pretty relatively new business, and things are definitely still difficult for us. We don't kill it. We don't make a ton of money, but early on, it was a lot more difficult for us. We really prioritized getting things built over making a profit.
Yeah, there's like a power in being able to show an object that you want to make exist. And that to us was more of the priority than like making sure we were compensated for, every hour that would have to go into that project.
Yeah. Part of that was being new, not really understanding what we needed to charge per hour, really what our overhead was, stuff like that. But mostly it was, we understood that if we got our portfolio built, that would open up opportunities for us in the future. So a lot of people got pretty good deals on some sick furniture.
Can you guys just talk about a project, like maybe a new project or one of your biggest projects, and just like bring us through like the beginning and then dealing with the client and then the end, or maybe like your vision through the project?
Yeah.
Should we talk about one that's in production, or I mean, I guess that would make sense. So we can
Just one that you're excited, like maybe one that you're excited, now, the one that you're most excited about now.
Yeah. What do you think?
It's hard to say. I mean, a lot of our projects, the way they go, are very different. Some people just open it up to us and they're like, do your thing. And then some people are just way more involved in the design process, and they've got their tastes and stuff like that. That was actually a big thing for us, was meeting this design company in town called Cloth and Kind. And we do a ton of work for them, and they really give us a lot of creative freedom. So like, we're about to do a big old bookcase for them. And so typically how it works is the designer will contact me and she'll have a reference photo for the species that they're looking for and the kind of general style. And she'll give me takeoff measurements of the space that it's going into.
Okay.
And then typically from there, we'll work up a few design ideas, real rough on paper. They'll kind of tell us the direction that they like there, and then we'll get it into 3D on SketchUp, and then and then we just start building.
I mean, with some people, we definitely finalize finishes and we'll show them some samples. We'll go through some detailed aspects of the piece before beginning. And but yeah, everything is definitely rendered in the 3D model before we begin building. And that helps us break it down to like the individual tasks that'll take to build it.
Does our
It
math
helps work,
for us.
Yeah, work through a lot of of the building prospect. But
What do you guys use to do that?
SketchUp.
Okay.
SketchUp, it's like it can be just like very cartoonish. Like it really, it definitely shows you proportions, but like the actual feeling of the piece really doesn't come through until.
I mean, there's the possibility there, but
Yeah.
we're very utilitarian with it.
Yeah.
And I always have to explain it to the clients too. And be like, this model looks not there. It doesn't look very good. But it's just the ideas for ratios and the general idea. Luckily, we have enough work behind us at this point that we can kind of be like, trust us. It's not going to look like this.
Yeah, there's like SketchUp has this wood rendering, and it's just a little bit like jarring. It's like
it looks like it's from 1990.
Yeah, but it gets the point across, which is just what we need.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could probably improve on rendering skills and try to show a more realistic. But I don't know. Maybe it's kind of nice to like have an element of surprise when people actually see it and they're like, "Oh wow, like this is a lot better than like what SketchUp showed us."
Yeah. But part of the way that we can behave, we can stay in business, getting things built for cheaper than necessary, basically, is because we're a very small operation. It's just the two of us. We don't have any employees, so we don't have certain insurances and taxes. We've got a very small shop, cheap rent, low overhead. We don't have the nicest tools. They definitely work. We've kind of ragged them out for the last 5 years, and they're all paid off. We don't have all the tools that we want, but I think that kind of informs the work that we take, or it can also inform the design. We'll have to think about what we can do, and how we're going to do it. Typically, though, the hand tools can kind of open up a lot of possibilities, things that we can't do because we don't have a shaper or whatever. We can do because we can work it out with hand tools. Want to talk about some things that we struggle with?
Sure. There's a lot of things we struggle with.
Yeah. Probably the hardest thing is all the stuff that you need to learn to operate in business. It's not just building stuff. There's lots of boring stuff you got to do.
The accounting, all of the communication with the clients, and
we learned web design. Lindsay's taught herself photography. I mean, we have to keep track of our hours. I mean, stuff like that, when I was working for somebody else and just using their space,
being told what to do,
or even doing stuff on the side, but using their tools, like you don't really know what to expect.
Yeah. How much time has to go into it.
Yeah. We struggle with deadlines. Other people's deadlines are pretty hard to meet. Sometimes it can be boring work, and it can kind of take the passion out of what you're doing. I think that's something we really struggle with right now is we've been working so much that woodworking has become more of a chore sometimes than a passion. Well, that's going to change soon. We just bought a bunch of land and we're going to build a shop on it and a house, and we got a lot of trees to manage and stuff like that. So hopefully that's going to get us out of the shop and
kind of diversify.
Yeah, diversify our lives.
Where I was going to ask.
Just for some advice. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of all we got about us.
We can give a shop tour or
Well,
kind of go through
we'll show
some
the
of the
we'll show
work.
the work first.
Okay.
Yeah, show us your work. We definitely want to see what you guys do.
All right,
Okay.
I'm doing it. Yeah, it's cool. Okay, there we go.
Looks good. We can see it.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna go through some stuff on this drive, and then I'm gonna go to the website as well.
Okay.
So we build a lot of boxes for this company in town called Bloodroot Blades, and they make like really nice knives. And just over the years, they've become one of our best clients, and they give us absolute total creative freedom. It's really incredible. And boxes are a really cool way to exercise creativity. You know, they're small, they're manageable. So a lot of the things like these pulls or door parts, we can work out ideas that then often will get put into a cabinet or a furniture piece later on. Sorry.
A box is like the first thing you learn in sculpture classes too, right?
Yeah, I remember doing boxes with R.G. Brown.
Yeah.
But we had
That's
to,
amazing. And then
we had to
you've
do
got,
a metal box.
yeah.
That was in welding class.
Oh,
The
yeah.
metal box was the killer.
Yeah. And then you destroy your box.
Yeah.
Totally.
So this is kind of stuff we like to do. This is all done by hand, dovetail joinery, the fun stuff. Here's another box. This is sycamore, pretty wild species. It gets this crazy grain patterns on it. And then this is a big box for a big set. I had this little drawer for this wild thing.
Yeah, what kind of?
What is it? What kind of blade is that?
Yeah, I think it's for like skinning animals.
Oh,
I don't know. It looks like it's for skinning animals.
it does. It does.
So these came as a set. So here's another little sycamore box to hold some steak knives, and then this is this kind of like slicer. But they're open. These are set in magnets. There they are closed. Here's another. We're gonna see a lot of boxes. Just
Penguin box
FYI.
heavy.
This is a fun box just for a single knife that double lid. This is maple, but there's some good color in there. Little dovetails. There's open all the way. Really, the knife is the art.
Hinge.
Oh yeah. In the wooden hinges.
Oh.
So those are a lot of fun. We don't have to buy hardware anymore
Oh, for some things we definitely
for
do.
something. There's a top of that box with nice little bark inclusion, get some color, and then good continuous grain between the two lids. It's always a nice detail. Another view.
What a cool creative project to just make like different kinds of boxes over and over.
Oh,
Yeah.
sometimes because they're very rarely are they the same.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll be sitting there just like fiddling away at some tiny little box part and just be like, I can't believe that this is what I spend my time doing.
Mhm.
Here's some larger stuff. This is a big dining table we did for our old boss. There's some joinery details. So that's through tenon that's pegged with dowels, a very strong joint. Can kind of give us opportunities for less structural parts. These are cabinet fronts. So here's a great example of working an idea out on a box that then gets turned into a furniture piece. Another detail from that island, a little tall, skinny door. Here's another box. I think it's probably my favorite box I've built. It's got double lids, just lots of weird little details. It's very enjoyable. Cut it out. There's that box open. Here, this is a bench. Kind of looks like Playmobil toy or something.
You could talk about how you like sci-fi, and some of that has worked into the details.
Yeah, I think probably like
One of
this.
your big inspirations visually.
This box, this kind of style is probably mostly inspired by Star Wars and anime. But there's definitely classically inspired furniture pieces as well. I feel like this is kind of just contemporary woodworking, is kind of like big blocky stuff, lots of rounds. That's just kind of where modern furniture is headed.
Are you working with, is that like your own design? Are you working with a designer and responding to like requests with that?
No, this was our design. This was for a designer, but she basically was just like, do whatever.
Nice.
She was very
She had a lot of ideas
for the
for
finish.
the table too, or like had some certain requirements she wanted for a table, or like a conference table that matches with that. But then with the bench, yeah, you just took complete freedom to.
Yeah.
design.
She really was specific about the finish.
Mhm.
Because this is maple. This started out white, almost as white as the wall, and then through various chemical and stain treatments, we turned it this like navy blue.
Okay.
Here is a kitchen island. Just kind of, it's hard to see, but there's some kind of little swoopy details in here. Here's the back side of that. More of these panel details. Here's a box. These are my first wooden hinges that I made. So this is a little box to hold 4 steak knives. So if you remove that top lid, then, oh, there we go. If you remove that top lid, and then it unrolls, and these are the wood hinges here. And you got this tool roll to hold these 4 knives. Probably a little more complicated than it needed to be, but a lot of fun to build. This is just an in-progress shot, but you can see an example of traditional hand-cut joinery, and this is a fun box. It's at an angle here, offers some challenges. This is this lounge chair that we've recently built. We do everything custom now, but we do have ideas for maybe having some sort of furniture line in the future, and this is one of our designs that would
I really love that design so much.
I'd take it.
Yeah, I'll have it.
yeah, I'm pretty excited about it too. Here's the joinery from the back of that chair, just the arm connection, the bridle joint for the back panel there. And above shot. I love through joinery. I think it's really interesting to see the tenons coming through. You see the tenons down here, just lots of little details. These are sayas, the knife sheaths for bloodroot. I really just like this photograph. Sometimes we'll be building stuff like this and I'm like, I should build a sculpture. And it never really comes to fruition, but sometimes when you have similar things, you start stacking them together, you can really find inspiration. Oh, okay. I'm gonna go to the website. There'll probably be some doubles, but we'll try not to.
It's
So you
really
can-
nice how you found that relationship with the knife maker and that your aesthetic goes so well together. It's like that you really trust each other, and it's like you're working back and forth.
Oh yeah, no, they really are. They're the coolest. I mean, they're so nice and they're so complimentary, and they're always like, just do whatever you want to do. We're actually here. I'll show you. Oh wait, I'll show you in a minute. I've got a project sitting right next to the computer for them.
Okay.
So
Town? Are they local?
they're in Arnoldsville,
Okay.
but yeah, I mean they're local.
Yeah, you should look them up. They're called Bloodroot Blade.
Bloodroot Blades.
Okay.
This is a bathroom vanity that we made. This is one of the first projects we did. There's these cool mitered dovetails, so they're blind on the top. You just see them on the side there. Pretty fun and challenging. Louvered doors with these integrated pulls. Here's another box, another sycamore box that kind of opens in a cool way. There's a settee, Windsor style. So that's the chair classes that I've taken are in this style, the Windsor chair. Lots of turning on the lathe, hand carving.
Very old traditional way of woodworking.
Yeah, it's like George Washington era.
Yeah.
There's that island. That's just a tabletop. There's some, this is kind of our thing, is that pull detail. This detail here. These are some big old dressers. Quarter sawn white oak will give you that wild grain pattern. Big old table, little cherry desk. My favorite box. So this is a stool that we've built. We built a bunch of these. This is a desk I built for a tattoo. This is a chair that I built in my first chair class. Continuous arm Windsor chair is what that's called. I went up to Vermont to build that chair. This is a piece for Cloth and Kind, the designers. They really designed that, so let's get out of here. This is the other chair, my other chair class. It's a kitchen. This is the stool I'm sitting on right now. Here's some knife boxes. These went up to
Michigan? Or
Minnesota. Yeah,
Milwaukee?
to a restaurant in Milwaukee. It was really fun. All the different species, having a nice little sample of different colors there. Another stool. Here's a bathroom vanity. That same kind of louvered detail. That box. Table. This is a fun piece. This was a conference, or no, sorry. What is this called? A reception desk.
Reception desk, yeah.
We built for a real estate office in town. We collaborated with our shopmates, St. Udio Metal Studio. They did that front panel there. So we got some big finger joints, kind of like the just different cascading levels. Lindsay made this really cool art piece. And we made some little coffee tables to go along with it.
So I'm curious, how do you both work together? Like, what's your process of how do you collaborate?
A lot of fighting.
Tons of fighting.
Typically, with the clients contacts us, we try to get as much information to start the design process, but Hank does the SketchUp drawings and the engineering of the pieces. He'll break it down, and then, you know, I do a lot of the milling and the planing and making the panels, and he does a lot of the joinery. But yeah, we kind of just break down the task and work through it together, and you can elaborate on that.
Yeah. No, I mean, a lot of the time we're just doing our own thing. Lindsay doesn't need like supervision or anything like that. And the fact that we're partners, you know, it's been really difficult when we've had people in here working, like we've had interns or apprentices or whatever. And it's just very difficult because you have to write them a check. Like Lindsay doesn't need a check. And
That's so, like, there's more to it than that.
there's more to it than that, but it's just, it's not, I think it's nice being the two of us. It creates a dynamic that's a little more open, I think, to communication.
Our shop,
Yeah.
like, we don't you need a certain amount of tools to be able to have like a crew.
Right.
So just our stage and our size, like, you know, we can only really have so much in production at once with just our limitations.
Yeah, and if I melt down and can't plan Lindsay's day out for her, she's got tons of stuff going on. We're renovating 2 Airstream trailers. So that's great. You know, that was something I struggled with somebody else, is like I basically would have to figure out something for them to do every day. And that's not always a possibility with the way we operate, because sometimes things just get backed up and it's just like, oh, all we can do is cut these dovetails today or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. I mean, that's just another skill that like we would need to hone in on, is like managing people, and we haven't decided to really go down that path
Yeah,
yet,
least priority.
it can kind of take you away from doing the work. You're doing more of the planning and the, you know, management, making sure everyone's safe on the tools. Like,
Right.
it can just be stressful.
It's also really good to have like,
Yeah, it's really stressful.
it's really good to have like a partner there that understands the aesthetic, and that you can go back and forth and, you know, like design the thing and say, does this look like what we make? Does this, you know, does this look good? And like be able to have that conversation that the people understand you.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
It also can be a little tough because we can be very honest with each other, and sometimes that's not really what I'm looking for. You know, I just want to get the
I'm
thing
gonna
built.
give my opinion. Yeah.
But it's awesome. I love working with Lindsay.
Yeah. It has some good moments.
Are you gonna?
It's all good moments.
You were talking about your property a little bit that you're moving out to. Are you going to use the trees on the property to make pieces from?
Yeah, that's the plan eventually. It's right now there's not enough mature trees to do that sustainably. But I'm excited to get out there and be able to do some management, and maybe whenever we're old, we'll be able to go out and cut a tree down and get chair parts out of it for a year or two. That's the idea though. It was logged probably 30 or 40 years ago. So luckily it's all coming back in pretty healthy, but there's nothing big out there yet.
Lindsay, are you outfitting the trailer all in wood details, or are you using all different kinds of materials in the trailer?
Yeah, a lot of the built-ins will all be wood for sure. But right now I am having to learn and work through other materials. The traditional, or like the old classical Airstreams, all the walls are this like very thin aluminum, and you fasten it all with rivets, which is nothing I've done before. So I've got a big learning curve with that. But yeah, all the cabinetry will be kind of fun curved stuff to work within the rounded space. So it's a good challenge.
We have a question too from a student.
What's up?
Your pieces look like they can take up to a year to make. How do you price your work?
Well, I mean, honestly, like we were saying earlier, we're probably just starting to break into being able to price our work appropriately.
And to understand kind of like the value of it, or
Yeah.
like
I mean,
how much it should cost.
we've probably paid ourselves less than minimum wage for years. But we're just, you know, we're getting to the point where we quote everything. We don't charge by the hour. We give a hard price before we start the job, and we always stick to that, which sometimes is not cool. Sometimes it really is hard, and we'll get to the end of a project that took a month longer than we thought it was going to, and we just have to eat that. Now we've gotten to the point where we know more like how long stuff really actually takes us, that we can be a little more realistic with pricing. We're also getting enough attention that we can afford to not take work if people can't afford it, which has been a hard thing to get over. It's very difficult to lose a job just psychologically. I think there's a part of your caveman brain that just kind of relates work to food, you know, and it's difficult to say no, to turn a job down. But sometimes the stress with taking too much work just isn't worth it also. All right, I'm gonna get out of this website.
We have one more. We have another question too.
Okay. Yeah.
First, love the spectral voice shirt. And two, do you have one dominant style of work that allows you to find clients, or do you feel like being able to adapt to many different styles is more important?
Good question.
That is a good question. I would say at this point in our career, it's valuable to be able to move around and accommodate more people.
And it kind of gives you new design challenges to kind of work in specific things that people are looking for or want. But I feel like Hank very often will put in design elements that he like is excited about or has been doing a lot. And
yeah, but we've also
worked between the two.
We've built very traditional, you know, oak furniture that looks like it's from the 1800s. It has moldings, and I think it's hideous, but that's what the client wants. But you know what? It makes you understand it really makes you understand what your style is, what you want to do. And, you know, at a certain stage in your career, you're like, I got to take this job. I don't have a choice. I got to build, you know, we've built tons of stuff that we didn't really want to. And like I was saying, like, we're finally getting to the stage where we can tell people that's not really our thing. And, you know, we share this shop with another woodworking business, and they're larger than us, and they can accommodate more work. And so we can just be like, hey, no problem. You just talk to these guys.
Yeah.
So that's really great. Yeah.
I have another question for you all. How did you all decide? I know that you moved here, Hank, for friends that you had living here.
Yeah.
And then Lindsay, why did you decide Athens, and how is Athens working for you, and talk about that? Like, how did you decide to stay here?
Sure. I mean, a big part of it was having met Hank and working together. Yeah, I guess just like meeting someone else that's doing something that you share, like, you know, we shared building things together, and it was kind of a nice momentum that you can create with another person when you like doing the same thing. So that was definitely a big draw to staying here. I didn't necessarily anticipate staying here, but I feel like sometimes Athens just does that for a lot of people. It just catches you. And I definitely was very interested in kind of seeking out the community outside of the university network and kind of just meeting people who've been here for a while. And so, yeah, Athens just kind of drew me in from the diversity here, and then having met Hank and enjoying doing this together, we just had some momentum going. So it kept me here.
We've thrown around moving a few times, different various parts of the country, and every once in a while, like an incredible woodworking studio will put a job offer up online, and I'll be like, oh, we should do this. Or my old college, they have a fine woodworking crew, and they were looking for somebody to run that. And honestly, that would probably be that'd probably be the dream job. But every time, always that'll come up, and then we're like, nah, let's just stay here. I mean, it's tough too. We're building all of our work for the most part is in Athens. With Cloth and Kind, stuff's been shipped over the country, and then we've done a few kitchens like in North Carolina and Tennessee, but mostly it's Athens. And so after a while, you've put so much work into building your brand, and if it's local, like, it'd be pretty hard to think about going somewhere else at this point.
Yeah.
Also, we have another question. What would your advice be for someone who wants to get into woodwork but has no background in it?
Well, I mean, I would say that I did not have background in woodworking. I mean, when I'd moved to Athens, I'd never built anything. I just cut trees down. And those two things are pretty far removed from each other. I knew a guy that was a contractor. I knew he was losing a employee, and I basically went to him and I was like, I'll work for free for if you give me a job. And that I didn't work for free, and I would not recommend doing that. But you know, I just got into doing carpentry. We built decks, we replaced windows, we just did whatever. I framed roofs. You know, I kind of did like redneck work for a few years, and then the tools were there, and then just kind of got into it.
I think that like Penland or John C. Campbell, those are two craft schools that one's in North Carolina, one's in, I guess, Georgia, Bald Eagle. But those are great places to go and take a class. It's very immersive. You have like a week long, like you don't have to make your own food. They just have a cafeteria where you go and eat, and then you literally can do it all day long. And I feel like that's a good place to like, you know, kind of spark the passion. And then, yeah, just kind of looking into local people that do it for a living, and, you know, reaching out to them to see if like they could use another person to help out. I think those are some ways to explore it.
Yeah. And the craft schools, like Lindsay went to John C. Campbell, and they want young people to come so bad that they just let her come for free, basically.
John C. Campbell has a grant, so you can apply for the grant, and they've got a lot of money for young people to come in and take these classes, and they've got so many woodworking classes, and it was a good experience for sure.
And if you've got the money, like the chair classes that I've taken are not for woodworkers necessarily. I mean, like lots
any
of
skill level can,
any
yeah,
skill,
go
like the teachers are there, they'll walk you through stuff. You know, I paid like $1,200 for each of my class. They're not super cheap, but you go for a week and you get a chair at the end, and you get tons of exposure. And it's the same thing where they just open their shop up and you just can be in there all hours.
Yeah.
Classes? The chair classes?
Yeah.
Where did you take them?
One was in Vermont and one was in Nashville, Tennessee.
Yeah, the one in Vermont was this old family that's been doing that chair design for a really long time. They're called the Sawyers. What's his first name? George
Sawyer.
So it's just individuals who have like created classes out of like their home shop. So it's pretty intimate, which is a cool experience. And the guy in Tennessee was named what?
Greg Pennington.
Greg Pennington. Okay. Not of my family relation.
Yeah. But it was cool. I just camped on the property the whole time and hang out with some old guys.
Yeah.
Are you guys gonna give us a short tour?
Yeah.
Sure.
You want to do that?
Might be a little shaky
Yeah.
compared to the.
Yeah, I'm just carrying the laptop.
Oh, that's fine.
You could start with.
Okay. Here, I'm gonna put my thing on. No. Okay, never mind. All right. Well, here's a knife block that we're making right now for the Bloodroot guys. Not super exciting, but it's kind of fun. Simple.
Yeah.
All right. Shop tour. It's a little messy in here, just FYI. All right. So here's the lathe. We've got a little office in there, but we're definitely not going in there. Lindsay's workbench is just covered in junk.
That's all trailer supply.
So this is our whole shop. And it's 1,000 square feet overall. And that includes like a little, maybe 200 square foot office. So it definitely gets tight in here. We need more space, but that's gonna come when we build it. We're not in a rush. Mostly it's lumber. So we've got some machines over here. That's our planer, jointer, table saw, chop saw. Ooh. This is really our whole lives. This is Boris.
Hi, Boris.
Yeah, Boris is the best. And that's Emma. Emma's my old lady. She's 13. She's a real
Wow.
sweet girl. All right, here. Oh, thanks. That makes this much easier. And this is the back of the shop. A bunch of lumber. It looks even worse on the computer.
Oh my God.
It doesn't look bad. It looks active.
Yeah, cool. I mean, honestly, I tried to clean up yesterday and then it was like, well, this is reality.
You
Yeah.
look busy.
Yeah, we're slammed. Yeah, it's good to understand how things can get. I mean, I'm sure some people have very tidy shops, but I've never met anybody that has a tidy shop.
So I'm curious, like that large table you made, how long does that take to make?
Everything is different. I mean, and that's the hard thing with custom work is that you just don't know.
Hours,
Yeah, you try to guess the best you can, and
Which table did she have to go?
that
That was
you want to
probably.
bust out the timesheet?
No.
It probably took 40 hours, maybe more.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably 40 hours. We also, it's hard because like we'll be in the shop every day, but we don't get here that early. I mean, this is crazy early for us. Usually we're still asleep right now. And you know, and then I always come back at night, but after dinner, but that won't be like the most productive work. And so it's really hard to gauge. I think some people are probably, it's more natural for them to be more organized with that kind of stuff, keeping track of their hours, getting in at 8, leaving at 5 o'clock. Like the Bloodroot Blades guys, we always talk to them about business, and they're very much like we start at 9, we take an hour for lunch, we quit at 4. I don't answer my cell phone after 4 o'clock. We do not work on the weekends. Like that is not how we operate. We really are just like.
I think though it's good to have boundaries because it can be very like consuming, and it's kind of nice to be able to have like a work balance and then kind of, you know, a time to relax in the day and like unwind. And like, sometimes we don't give ourselves that, but I think that's a really important thing to like find so that you can kind of maintain and continue on with some longevity. Because if you don't, you really can feel burnt out. So I think finding longevity is finding balance, and
yeah, we
struggle with that. No, I'm saying we struggle
I thought you were
with
just
that.
pointing at me.
We struggle with that.
It's we have a goal. The goal is to behave that way. Right now, we can justify busting our asses because we're like, well, this is gonna be good for us in the future.
Yeah.
This is how we get bigger jobs that pay better, that we have to work less. We'll see if that comes to fruition, but right now that's kind of the plan.
Yeah. Just trying to do what works.
Yeah, I mean, if y'all had the capability, the opportunity to just right away, just jump into like a normal schedule, I think that would probably be the healthiest way to go about it. Because honestly, sometimes I'll get in here and be like, I hate this place. I do not want to be here right now. I don't want to be doing this. Like, maybe I should go back to college.
But then you look at your portfolio of all these amazing creations, and it's like,
oh, no, for sure. I mean,
happening.
Sometimes I'll think about it and then be like, well, really, I've got over a decade in this field. Like, you know, if this was too much, there's probably other opportunities out there for me in woodworking or construction. So just sticking through with something doesn't mean that it has to be crazy forever. Like,
Yeah, or that you even have to do that thing forever.
right.
Yeah.
You guys, thank you so much for sharing your practice in your studio and chatting with us for a little while. We're about out of time, but it is so good to get to see you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, this has been great.
Much. This was amazing.
Thanks.
Yeah.
We're gonna
We now have
stick
an
a.
extra like 2 or
Oh.
3 hours of our day because we got to start at 8. So
You're
Thanks for that.
welcome.
it's a good start to our day.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks so much.
Thank you guys.